So this video series is aimed at documenting in his own voice the legacy, experiences, and funny story of my daddy, Patrick Roberts, who, like me, loves to talk. He's been a musician, a bus driver, a lover of tools and culture, but recently faced a couple unexpected health woes. As his ever optimistic daughter grew, I pressured him into documenting and memorializing that voice and wisdom that we have. So here goes. I got a lot of my love for funny stories, music, and lots of other things from you, and I can tell a bunch of them. But let's start before there was a Patrick story. Tell us, who is Patrick? Take us back to the real little Patrick growing up and what you would say you were as a boy.
Well, maybe I would say that I probably was a mama's boy because I grew up very close and attached to my mother. Um, as a little boy from the age of 3, I started having asthma. And so I used to be sick a lot. So I spent a lot of home time with her trying to get me better because whenever I'm sick, it's like she's sick too. So she wanted to make me whole. So as fast as I'm getting out of the sicker part of the illness, we'll get into talking. So most of my time growing up, I spent next to the kitchen door with her in the kitchen cooking and so. And she was a woman I could ask her anything, any question in the world, regardless to what it was about. She had an answer for. She was my English teacher. She was my mathematics teacher. She was my biology teacher. She was everything because she had a wide scope of knowledge. And in her heyday, she used to be a teacher at one time, and that was part of her DNA that she really believed herself to be. And I appreciated that because I think she really was. Um, so we'd have lots of conversations. And she'll teach me things about cooking, about whatever it is. I remember there was a time, and not only that, she would encourage me to do whatever I want to do just as well. I used to do a lot of art, or I got involved in music because of my situation with asthma. I couldn't do a lot of physical stuff like football and cricket and running around and so I had to do the lighter things that I could sit and do: music, drawing, art, and things, writing poetry, writing stories, and all those things. And she used to encourage me in that because using language in a proper way was something that she always instilled in us. So she is the person who really gave me my language structure that I just can't get out of even now. So there was one day that I wanted to surprise her. So on the wall in the living room, I drew the portrait of a man. I mean, a real life-size man on the
Oh,
wall.
oh, oh,
And she was not home at the time. I think she probably was working out of the house at the time. So when she came home, I was so happy to show her what I did. Then my attitude.
and she was
So
like,
I went outside and held her hand and brought her into the house and show her what I did. And She said, yes, it's nice. Wow, and she complimented me on it and so. And I was so happy that I made her happy by drawing that on the wall. Oh, and the next morning when I got up, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. She took all the time she needed the night while I was sleeping, and she cleaned it off the wall. So I went now going to look for my stuff again to have my time with her. So I asked her, I said, "My mom, where's the picture?" She said, "I had to take it off the wall." So I said, "Okay, well, I'll draw it." She said, "No, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. It's okay. That one time was good." So it was like that.
So she really gave you a beat and switched it.
Well, I mean, she didn't make, she wasn't angry. She didn't show me that she was upset. But she wanted to keep her place nice and tidy, and that wasn't part of the deal. So in other words, she was a diplomat, you
So I
know.
guess that's where you got it from. Because I can think of a few stories where you convinced me I was doing that, that I that I maybe wasn't doing.
Mm.
But yeah, so you mentioned that you did a lot of art and music. And so tell us what was your first instrument and how far like you went with it or how you started to doing anything now. I mean, anyone who's known you in the last, let's say, decade and a half, know you with your saxophone and so forth. But we know there were other things before and along with that.
Yeah, the first musical instrument that I had was one Christmas time. I got it as a Christmas present. A little wind instrument called they called it the pipe organ. It had like about 10 or 12 keys, just straight keys, no sharps and flat, just, you know, and so on. And it came with charts to play songs that I was able to play. So I learned to play, learned to pick the keys and play the music on it. And then later on, my older, bigger brother, Reginald, he bought for me um, another wind instrument. I don't remember what the name of that one. But anyhow, it was similar. It had similar keys to the piano, maybe tuned in the same keys. And so I learned to play that one. I think that one also came with some musical charts that you could teach you to play songs on it, Christmas songs like that. So I did. And then eventually I started feeling myself through it and learning to play like calypso and other music that I would hear on the radio. And until I get really comfortable with it and was able to learn to play a lot of music by ear. And then later on, my same older brother, he gave me an instrument called the melodica. That one also had the same key arrangement like the piano. And by that time, I was already skilled in listening to music. I had a good ear for the tones. And so I was able to just pick songs and play and, develop my skill and my speed and so on. And so I used to play, I brought it to school with me when I was going to primary school a couple of times. And then we actually formed an unofficial band in the school with one of
Which level of school was this?
primary.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so the music teacher in the school, who used to be the pianist and all that, was a guy called Derek Cloudman.
Affectionately also known as Fatty
Fatty
Derek, right?
Derek, yeah. So he realized that I was into music. He was into music. So what he did is that we formed a kind of unofficial band. It was there was a guy with a bongo. There was a one with a scratcher. I think there was somebody who played a mouth organ, and he would play the piano. I think at that time we had an organ in the school, electric thing, and I played my melodica. And so those were the days when in primary school they used to have things like school fair and harvest and so. So in our school, when we have those events, um, we used to have a slot for like a musical performance, you know. So that was that. And Fatty Derek now felt that he wanted to develop my skill in music. So he wanted me to play a really official, professional, professional instrument. So he asked me what would I like to play. I said, well, I would like to play the saxophone because as a little boy, there were two instruments that really intrigued my mind. One was the saxophone. I just liked the intriguing look at it, all the difficult structure of the keys and so on. I just like that instrument and so on. I like the tone. And I figure, well, it will be a really skillful and to master that technique in playing that instrument. The other instrument that really intrigued my life was the guitar. Because I had an uncle who used to play the guitar. And I used to like to see how and hear how he played it. But because the instruments that I were playing were wind instruments that I blew in, the guitar was kind of secondary to that. So eventually, Fatih Derek sent me and a couple of us in school to go to the police band in Grenada to learn music. So I went and I told the bandmaster who was the instructor then of the instrument I'm interested in, saxophone. He said, okay. But when you going to learn to play the saxophone, they first started you on a clarinet. So
where were you at this point? You were now in what, secondary school? Or?
No, same primary school.
Still in primary school, they sent you to the police band?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jude and I. This is sent you from primary school. Innocent, Jude, there are some Wilson guys, two brothers, and the other Hotler guy. Quite a few of us the same. We were still in primary school. Yeah. So, but I didn't stay in the band. I didn't have a lot of that kind of discipline and structure in my life at the time. I figure, well, after school, I want to be with my friends. We pitch marbles, or we go around and so on. Saunter around to go home, have fun. That's the time I would have spent going in the band. It wasn't going to work for me. Another thing that I was not really interested in is putting on the uniform of the police band.
Well,
Because,
and that part is one of the parts that I can't find funny because after you didn't want to wear a uniform at that point in time, you ended up spending what, over 2 decades in
yeah,
uniform.
it's not that I didn't want to wear a uniform. I didn't want to wear that military police uniform. But it's not that I didn't to wear a uniform. Uh, Customs, I work in customs. There was uniform there. Um, Even when I went to work in Grand Lake, we had uniforms, but it's not, it's like civil uniforms, not military style looking. I didn't even want to join the Boy Scout because of the same military kind of style. I didn't like that at all. So yeah, and not only that, I was not interested in going on march in this military fashion. And the police band, like when they have little parades and so, because that's what used to happen. After you go through the training, like when they have little parades and so on, once you get to the level where you have to go on march in the uniform. I wasn't interested in that. So I after maybe a couple weeks, I left. So I didn't really learn to play the instrument.
But you have, so talk a little bit about, even though Fatty Derek sent you to, or I should say, Mr. Clouden sent you to the band. You did have some history with the band too, because Papa was in the band. What other who else was related to you from in the band?
Um, yeah, my father played drums in the band, um, and being that he played a lot of the guys who used to play in the band then, I was familiar with them because they used to be his friends. He used to come home. He was a tailor. My father was a tailor. He used to sew for them. So even Brian, his father used to be home by us, you know, and so on. I knew Brian as a little boy, and so on. Yeah, but I just couldn't take the military structure. So I left the band in that, and years again after, he still said, Mr. Crowley still sent me back to the band to play. But I still didn't stay because I don't remember what happened then. I think,
So you just had your own way.
yeah,
Well,
I think,
I think you were telling me one of the stories before. Um, in terms of some of the guys, one of the guys who had started with you, but really couldn't get his, either his notes right or things like that. And knowing your sense of humor, I think you are gonna get written up a lot of times for your behavior.
no, no, no. I think one time, and the second time when I went, you see, it was a police band. So, and there you have a lot of structure. You have to have a lot of order and military fashion discipline, which I wasn't really willing to really be part of. So one time we went to the band house and there was nobody there. to supervise us. So, and we didn't have permission to do anything. But I went and took the instrument, the clarinet that I was going to play, and so on. And then we heard the bandmaster coming in. So I didn't even have time to dismantle the instrument and put it back in the case, put it back in this. So I think I just left it out on the table or wherever, and we dashed out and we ran. So I think he must have glimpsed us, He probably saw me, and I heard him saying, I am not going to teach that boy any music. I am not going to teach that boy. So I know from then, ain't no going back there because he wasn't going to teach that boy any music. So that was it for me. But I always had a love for the saxophone.
Well, with that, I remember when you actually started buying the saxophone up here because I was already up here, and and had the times when it gave me enough teasing with I think SpongeBob SquarePants was popular about then, talking about Squidward or so. But just even to jump before you reach back up to the saxophone, you some of my earliest memories with you would be driving around in the car, not even driving because you were always working first on what was that car number? 398.
Mm-hmm.
It was what was it? Green station. What was the station on it?
Yeah, it's called.
Yeah. So and I remember being 2.5 and 3 years old, and you're working on that, but you never did any of it without having your music playing. A lot of you were into your calypso or whatnot. You had your mouth organ, which you claim you gave me. I don't know what happened to it. Um, when you were inside, you'd have the melodica, but you had instruments all of your own, even when you weren't playing a physical instrument. I learned whistling from you, or humming and whatnot. So talk a little bit about some of your other activities that you loved as a youth.
Well, auto mechanics is something that I always like. I always had an interest in. And I remember I was telling my mother, I want to be a mechanic. Now, in those days, people had not so much,
Reviews.
but is a mechanic and that kind of stuff. They figure, okay, that was not a prestigious job enough for you to focus that you want to be.
You could do it on the side.
You could be a teacher, you could be a doctor, you could be, everybody want the child to be a lawyer, a doctor, or some kind of profession like that. But if you say auto mechanic, or they treat it as it is somebody who drop out of school and by the side of the way you just don't know. But that is something that I always had an interest in. So I remember there was one time during my school vacation time, I asked her, my mother had a friend who was a mechanic. He had a mechanic shop and thing. So I told her to ask him if I could come and, be an apprentice during the holidays from school. And that time I was very slim. I wasn't that muscular. So So she brought me to him, and he looked at me and he said, "You think he could lift all those big pieces of iron?" I don't think so. He wouldn't be able to work here. And that was that.
But that didn't really stop you, right? Because as I said, like a lot of the times that we spent together as you worked on the car or so forth, you did a lot of things. And then even growing up, I remember one of your good friends that we were always by was a mechanic, Julie.
Yes. So um, I never, you see, the things that I was interested in, it didn't matter what people say to me or what they thought. They couldn't really dissuade me or push me away from it. I wanted whether I was going to be a professional mechanic or not, but I needed that information. I needed that knowledge and skill so I could at least use it for myself. And in my work life, I got friendly with some guys who were mechanics, and we'll have conversation. They'll tell me, how to do certain things. And I had my friend who we used to go about and do a lot of repairs on people's vehicles. My friend Jude Holston, he died now. And so I was always with him. He would teach me to do things. And whatever is a little more difficult for me to do, he'll do it. But if he think it's something that I'm able to do, he tell me, "You could do that, man. Just do this and thing." And he look, make sure it's done right and that thing. So when I bought my first car, it was a hands-on thing. You learn to do things because a lot of things, if you're unable to do it for yourself, it will cost you a lot. And especially if people figure that you don't know how to do it, sometimes they take more advantage of you. So I got involved in that. And not only that too, when I was going to secondary school, it was one of the courses that I did called agricultural science. And part of that course, there was an auto mechanics slot in there where you have to know how an engine functions, the parts of it, how you assemble it, how you dismantle it, and so on. Because on the farms, the engines and vehicles that you have to use, so you have to know how to do certain things with them. So that was part of the course that we had to do. So I was interested in that. Right, and then
Well, a lot of that, definitely benefited me as a kid because I think also kind of helped foster both my love for music from the first part that you spoke about, as well as for like science and technology. Because as a 4 or 5 year old, watching you, I was familiar with the parts of the car because as I said, I take my talking from you, so you just to talk when you're doing that. So I was familiar with some of the inner parts of the car. Um, and it's interesting sometimes to hear the backstory that as a kid you wouldn't know as to how you went into that. Another part that I wanted to touch on because you also had like quite a lot of friends who went into I don't know like fishing and some of these other areas, but I can't quite ever really remember you fishing. I remember us eating all the fish broth. I know you like your fish broth, and I like to try to tag along with you on a Friday evening, whether you were going up walk or meeting with your other friends. But so talk about like some of the other things that you did, some of the friends you had or have, um, and just what make Patrick Roberts tick.
Well, you see, for me, I always had one of my active philosophy is that you give to the world what you want from the world. So if you want goodness from people, you have to give them that. So I was not someone to judge people and feel that this person is not good enough or is not worth my time and that kind of stuff. I relate with people on a regular level, regardless of who it is. I remember when I worked in customs, um, a department, sometimes, like in a lot of the governmental agencies, people just have a sense of air as if they feel that they have an authority over everybody else. So you come in for service and they treat you like, well, who are you? I am the professional here, and you just have to follow what I do. But I never took that attitude because I figure, you come there, you need service. I came to serve you, so I'm gonna relate with you in that way. There was a guy that one day he came to me and he said, he was sent to me for me to help him because they told him I am the best person, the easiest person because to deal with. And I understand that because a lot of my co-workers had a level of arrogance and nobody didn't really want to deal with them. But I don't see life like that because I know, like, going through life, especially when you need help. You look in and you expect to be helped by the person that you're seeking it from. So if I can help you, I'm gonna help you. Um, Something I just want to say again related to my asthma that I had when I was growing up. Like I said, my mother, she was always concerned about my health, and she was always caring and wanted me to get out of that. She wanted me to be healthy. And so there was a doctor who used to make house calls at that time, Dr. John Alex, old John Alex. I say the reason why I'm alive today, why I was able to grow up and grow out of asthma, was because of the two people in my life who were really dedicated to fixing that part of me, and that was my mother and Dr. Alex. Dr. Alex used to tell her, like, seeing that I started having asthma at that early age of 3, I probably will grow out of it in my teenage years. And that kind of happened, you know. And he was such a decent man. I remember going to St. George's Darcy Boys School, Palmer School. The old school used to be in the town when I started going there. It was right on what is called Canesh Hill, just over Young Street. And Dr. Raddick's office was right across the street where People's Pharmacy is now. And he used to say to me, if you're in school any day and you feel sick, just come across to my office. I'll give you a shot. He used to give me I don't know what the medication was in that. But anyhow, once I get that shot, it eased my breathing and I'm okay. I went to the office a couple of times. He gave me the shot. And apart from the shot, he'll give me a lollipop. And I got back to school. When I'm going down the hill to go across the street to meet him, I could hardly walk because I'm out of breath. I get a shot on the lollipop and I could run up the hill back to the school because I'm good.
You're like Popeye when he eats spinach.
You know, he was a good man. He was a really good man. I appreciated him. And so it's all these things, when you have life challenges and you get in the situations where people help you, it kind of give you the sense that you also have to do that. You have to give back to the world what you receive, So that's just my way. And that's how it is. So, okay. So I remember my mother used to tell me, because of my situation with asthma and so on, I would never be able to live, I wouldn't be able to live in the cold countries like England and America and that kind of thing. And to tell you the truth, I had no interest in living in those countries. I never ruled out like visiting for vacation, just to explore and see what it's like and so on. But no.
So we got interrupted there for a minute. But actually, that's a good segue because I believe you just got a call from one of my aunts, right? So you talked a lot about where you didn't plan to go. You didn't
Plan to live in.
yeah, you didn't plan to be in this country for multiple decades, etc. But let's talk a little bit about your family and so forth. You mentioned that you were a little sickly growing up, but you weren't an only child. You had quite a few siblings. Let's talk about what it was growing up with different brothers and sisters. We do know that you have more brothers and sisters by fathers than by mother. But so just talk about like the home life growing up.
Yeah, well, in our household growing up, in my mother's house, we had like four of us. One sister before me, Joy, me, then my brother Justin, and then my last sister, Pauline. My big brother Reggie, he was like about maybe about 12 years older than me. So he was, already an adult when we were like growing up, going into teenage years and so. But he was kind of like um, a disciplinarian. And wanted help with giving us structure and stuff in our lives, But he was an example and a model, a role model for us. So my other siblings, well, my brother and I, Justin, people used to take us for twins, because we were always together. My mother was a seamstress, my father was a tailor. So if they're sewing clothes for us, we get the same clothes, same shorts, same pants. So it was we were like we in uniform, you know, and things. Then Joy was ahead of us. She was a little selfish, and by herself. And Pauline, she was the baby. So she used to be my baby at the time when she was small. I used to want to take care of my sister. I think she even fall over my shoulder one time when I pick her up, and she was too heavy for me, so we end up on the floor. But she survived. And, so we had that kind of fun going up and things. One of the things that my mother did for us is that she gave us a lot of structure. She gave us a lot of organizing chores in the sense that although it was like two boys and two girls, we all did the same thing in rotation. So, like on a weekly basis, for example, the dishes would be done by somebody, the yard will be swept by someone, and so she rotates us. I do the dishes this week, Joy do it next week, Justin do it, and things. Or we clean the yard, or we wash the yard, or we scrub the drain, or we whatever. But the chores used to be circles, so we all get a taste of it. It's not to say this is for the boys and this is for the girls. We all had our assignments in the same kind of equal level, and thing. And then again, like I said, because I had that kind of attachment with my mother. Hi, what's up? Oh, that okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I
So, I mean, I guess that's good that she started that equality part early, and I can definitely, attest the benefits from that because even though you only had daughters, um, it never felt that I couldn't do what a boy did or or whatnot. And then even me growing up, I mean, you uh, bought a lot of my first girl things. So,
so yeah, I mean to tell you the truth, when you all was supposed to be born, you all was supposed to be boys, That's what I
that's
that's
what,
what,
that's what you
yeah.
always call us, but boys.
That's what I was looking for, but when I had just girls then I said, well, it didn't matter, we did the same thing that I would have done with the sons. So And I don't think I missed that, you know, and things. Yeah, so I was able to get into a lot of things. So to be well rounded and to be able to do everything that a girl or a boy could do. My mother taught me to use the machine, the sewing machine. So I learned the skill of using the machine. And she used to give me things to sew. So I used to make some extra money sometimes. Even for a month, I get $5. $5 was a lot of money in that time, you could buy a lot of things, Like she used to sew like curtains and cushion cases and those things for people. And even like home dresses and things. Once it's not anything official and important, she just she lined it up for me and she said, okay, stitch here, stitch there, this, that. And and I do it. When she get paid, I get money. If it's $1 from this one, $2 from that one, you know. So it was fun.
You carry because I believe even up to like retirement, you like if you needed to tack your pants or whatever it is, you did your little thing, right?
Yeah, but here, my father was a tailor, and but my father never one day said to me, "Come, let me teach you to do this," or "Come, let me teach you to do that." So when I left school, when I finished with secondary school and so, I'm looking for a job, and it took me like about 2 years before I was able to get a job. So in the meantime, I decided, okay, I'm going to put my skill to the test. So I had a friend who was a tailor. So I went to him and said, look, I want to learn to do tailoring. I could use the machine. I just need to know, okay, how to measure someone to make a pants, for example, how to use that measurement to cut the pants and then to box it up, to sew it up, put it together, and then you complete the job. She said, no problem. So I went by him. He taught me how to measure. He taught me how much excess I need to put in the measurements when you divide the measurements in four. And he add on like a half inch or whatever for this stitching. He showed me how to draw the pan on the cloth, you know, and you make the design and cut out all the pieces for the pockets and the fly and the waistband and everything. He taught me all that. And then he gave me my assignment to see how much I was picking it up. So after the first week, I was able to design and lay down the cloth and draw it out and, cut it and so on. And by the end of the second week, I was able to put everything together. So it took me 2 weeks to learn to be a tailor. He was so surprised. He said he never seen that in his life before. Because he had people who he been teaching him for months and months and months, and they ain't going nowhere, I guess. But you see, I was interested in getting to do something to make some money. So when I, wa- I was able to do that, then I started using my mother's machine to sew up those pants and things. It was then that my father, he gave me a machine, an old machine that he had that he wasn't using anymore, because he realized that I was a tailor. I mean, he didn't consider that I was in his class. I wasn't, but at least I had customers coming to me, giving me work. My same friend, he was so confident in me that he was sending people to me, and they were satisfied with the work that I did for them.
Did you ever end up working with Papa?
No,
No?
no, he never. I think he never really had that confidence. And then the next thing, where my job started opening up for me, I I got I was almost got a job at Huggins. I think in Huggins shipping. I was going to get a job at I had a teaching job that had opened up for me in Happy Hill School, and then I had a job opened up for me. I think one of the banks, Barclays Bank, I think it was. I was hiring.
But you didn't end up. That's when you went to customs, or
Yes.
oh, so you didn't take those.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah. I would have preferred to go to the bank because the bank was paying a lot more. But the reason why I didn't go is because it might have been a temporary job because they had industrial problems then. And seeing as the regular staff was out, they needed fill-ins. So when they solved the problem, I could have been out. And that's not where I was, so I didn't go to that. So then one of the places that I wanted to work was in customs. So when the Public Service Commission called me and they directed me there, I was happy. I went to work there. I was sorry after I went because I figured, I should have gone into teaching. But I had a choice to make. I made it. I had to live with it then.
But you mentioned a few friends that you stayed along with at customs, didn't you? Or
Yeah.
so I think sometimes everything will come for its business, but I definitely think you would have been a great teacher.
And that's why my mother wanted all of us to be teachers. And it's after I had friends who went into the profession, and then meeting them after work and telling them and seeing how they were advancing, that's when I told myself, I should have gone into there. But I was already elsewhere.
Say what you don't do, sometimes your offspring that pouring down all the story.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, we want to learn a lot about you, but we're gonna take it in sections. So maybe we'll wrap up this first one for the day because the next one I want to include, some of the flashback memories, some pictures and stuff. Let's talk about some of those stories that you've told me over the years, but I don't think we ever got. So this is just episode one of Patrick's daughter, getting to know Patrick and all of his 30 years and what makes him him. All right. Thank you for joining me today.
All right.